Alright, we got Gavin's Silverface Deluxe here. It's kind of farting away. I mean, Deluxe's fart in the low end when you try to give him too much volume. That's why jazz dudes like twins. But it also is, I think we're getting some physical vibrations from low notes that is setting something off in the chassis that is, you know, just a bad solder joint or a bad connection. Because if I tap here, oh, that's just the reverb. There we go. Hear that? So that sounds like a short, or a bad solder joint or something. So we're gonna have to get at that, and I think that's what's triggering or getting triggered by just low notes and stuff. So that fart out, that's just fucking what Deluxes do. But if I turn the volume down and play gently, but turn it up a bit more, still need a bit more. So that kind of, so we're not getting like, you know, Fender breakup. We're getting just on a what should be a pretty clean low note. And then the metallic part, there is some tube rattle and stuff back here. It might be a microphonic tube that I can find. It's probably the phase inverter. Yeah. And possibly reverb recovery. Yeah. Reverb recovery. So it could be the tube stuff or just the tube sockets being really dirty, so I'll clean those up too. And that's a pretty good place to start. Hey, also, what's up with this voltage selector situation? And why was it set to 220 instead of 110? We will investigate and we will make it right. Surfing the wave. So your eyelet board here has a lot of curvature in it, which puts a lot of stress on some of these solder joints. So it's looking more and more like that's probably what I have to chase down, especially some of these ones that go lengthways, like that resistor there. Get a lot of pressure on them, on the solder joints, when it starts to bow up like that. Hello, random loose piece of conductive metal laying in the board. How are you today? We don't like you, so you will be coming out. So here we are at about the phase inverter cathode. Somewhere around here we got some bad solder joint. So we'll reflow some stuff. Some of the hardware holding down these new transformers pretty loose, like, you know, a good half a turn. So that's probably gonna contribute to some vibration too. Transformer mounting hardware was pretty loose too, and some of those hold down some ground tabs, so that should improve overall noise. Okay, I reflowed a couple of those joints. The most suspicious ones were the ground at this rather busy intersection, and I also put in my rectifier and power tubes from my Deluxe and checked the bias, and it's, you know, on the cool side, but everything's fine. And when I play low notes, I get no crackly, shitty stuff or metallic rattle. And when I tap in the neighborhood or anywhere, I get no shorty fucking crackles. So I think I've cleaned her up in here, and now I'll put your tubes back in and see if that's contributing to it too. I mean, they're just physically make a lot of fucking noise. Like, you know, that one's not too bad. I mean, it's pretty bad, but could be. And your rectifier too. Rattly as a motherfucker. In fact, when I turned your amp on for the first time with all your tubes and stuff still in it, there was like a, not coming out the speaker, but just physical rattling, as though like the power transformer had, you know, bad windings or something. But that doesn't happen with my rectifier and power tubes in there, so it's because of something going on with your power tubes and rectifier. So we'll narrow that down, but you're probably looking at a pair of 6V6s and maybe a 5U4. So here's that sound I was talking about. Your rectifier back in the JJ. Check it out. You power up. Sizzling the bacon. So, you know, we can't have that. So I'll put mine in for further testing, but that's definitely not. Okay, so my rectifier, your power tubes, and we're still pretty cool. Bias is great too. You know, 20 milliamps plate current. So yeah, and no, like that's just thumbing some super low neck pickup, fucking thick humbucker. With the bass on the channel at 5 or 6 or something, so. And it's not doing the, and we still have, turn my guitar down, we still have no crackle. So I think you might just be now looking at a rectifier tube, and could be golden. I'm gonna tighten up all this hardware too, because even the nuts holding these are loose, and I'll do the input jacks too, because that's often a bad spot. That's ground, so gotta have that. So now we're gonna crank this doggy up a bit and see if the metallic rattle is gone, and it was all down to the loose hardware and possibly rectifier tube. And I think it's sounding pretty tight. So yeah, one of these things about these 70s eyelet boards is that they have wax in them, and the wax gets warm and then collects particles from the air and then cools off and then becomes part of the wax. And anyway, essentially it becomes slightly conductive. So instead of being, you know, like these eyelets being totally isolated from each other, they're actually electrically somewhat connected by the subtle conductivity of the board. So you can see, like here, use this one hand here, try not to electrocute myself. Put the meter in the view too. So you know, when I'm on the chassis here, we got 0 volts, but if I just touch somewhere on the board itself, we got, like, you know, 200 millivolts, pretty negligible. but you know, my blackface one is basically 0. I don't think that's affecting much. Like, this is ground up here. We should be seeing 0 there. No, that's pretty close. Because we're on ground. But if I move just to the side of that on the board itself, a couple hundred millivolts. But you know, there's 400 fucking volts running through this eyelet right beside it. So a couple hundred millivolts isn't gonna do too much, but sometimes that's where weird noise and stuff come from. But I think we're pretty good in that regard. Someday you might wanna depopulate the entire board and heat up all that wax and wick it off. But let's hope that never has to happen. I spoke too soon about your power tubes. We'll see. There's definitely like an oscillation that goes away with some flex here. I'm going to take my bias probes out and see if it's just some kind of intermittent connection. Could be a tube socket thing, could be the tube. Stand by. Probes are off, tubes are directly in the sockets. Warming up. Hear that kind of descending. Just caught. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna pop my tubes back in, make sure that is a your tubes problem. Here's with my Sylvanias back in there. Power on, warming up. Nice and quiet and clean and good. Yeah, so power tubes. You need a pair of 66s and 5U4GB. And then I think we're rocking. I'm gonna check for cab rattle now with my tubes in there, and then we'll report back. So yeah, we can now, you know, play low notes with our thumb up to a certain point, and it's clean. Shit on my desk here rattling, but. I can teach you that lick if you want. And then, you know, when you dig in, farts out like a Deluxe does. If you don't want that, you need more headroom, you gotta get a twin. Or there's a couple things I could do to the normal channel to make it more twin-like, but you'll never get the volume out of it and stuff. Anyway, it's behaving as a Deluxe should. Rattles when I play big loud chords. I'm telling you, that's fucking loud in here. A little bit of the verb seeping through. That's negligible. Then I was gonna check the trim. I've got a dummy plug here for it. See what's happening there. your speed to track. That's just one cap value. And the tick is not bad. That's the tremolo tick and the oscillator ticking. There's a cap to ground on there already that you can see in the other photos, but that's not the place where most people put it. Most people put it right across the roach, the weird looking optical light that flashes that sets the trem speed. But I don't think it's a problematic amount of tick. Also, no more